Hi everybody, Happy New Year. I realized it's been a while since I've done an actual, just like what I've been up to knitting video, because the last one I did was I think everything I knit in 2024, and I was away for a while. So I'm eager to share with you what I've been up to. And I also wanted to put my thoughts down and share with you some, not plans, but some focus areas that I'm really hoping to get to in 2025. So not a make 9 per se, but some things that I want to learn and pay attention to. Before we get started, I was just watching Chelsea's video, Chelsea from the Sunday Knitting Society. She is a beautiful knitter and doctor in Oklahoma City, and she was talking about the devastating wildfires in the LA area, in California, I should say, because goodness knows where they're going to go next. And she said that sometimes it can feel overwhelming when you see the images and reports from a catastrophic event ongoing at this point. And she said that she read somewhere that helping one person, doing for one person what we would want to do for everyone, can be a way to remind yourself that every little bit counts, and that most of us cannot help everyone. And so whatever amount, any donation that any of us would make or can make can help. So I know that there have been plenty of people who have listed resources, the Red Cross being one of them, in the area. All right. I wanted, first, I'll just share some things I'm working on in no particular order. I'll just grab what I have here. I did finish a pair of socks, by the way. So let me just start off with the trip I was just on. I went to Ouray, Colorado, which is in the mountains, the San Juan Mountains, which I've actually never, well, I have been in, but from the New Mexico side, from Albuquerque. I've climbed in that part of the San Juan Mountains. And so to fly from Pittsburgh to Denver, and then to Telluride, and then to drive from Montrose, Telluride, to Ouray, which is a little under an hour, was so fantastic. The mountains in San Juan, in that particular part of the San Juan Mountains, are so fascinating, different. They are buttes, a lot of them, so they're flat on top and just made from different materials. We were going to Ouray, which is a mountain town, a mining town historically. And I saw a sign there that said they call themselves the Switzerland of America, because there are some mountains that are like pointy and craggy. But we were there to do some ice climbing. We try to go on an ice climbing trip every January or February for the last 15 years. I say 15 years because we were married 15 years ago in January. And our honeymoon, the reason we picked January was that we were going to the Adirondacks ice climbing festival. It was our first ice climbing festival. My friends and I, who were climbers, were just learning how to ice climb. And so we went to the Adirondacks, and we tried to go to different places. So going to Colorado ice climbing was the first time, and it was fantastic. I brought a sock because I thought I'd be really tired. And so I'll put a picture of the second sock that I made and finished on the trip. And then I started another one because, thank goodness, I brought some more yarn. But I used the KnitPgh, not Hawthorne, the KnitPgh Twill sock yarn in Serpent Heather. That's the color that you're seeing in the picture. So I love the yarn. It's washable, so I just put it in the washer and dried it. And not a perfect sock when I'm traveling and doing things on planes and whatnot. I don't think any of my socks are perfect. I mean, I'm a new knitter, so, Then with me, I brought this Retrosario Mondim Bercesario Rosa Pomar Mondeem sock yarn that I talked about before. It looks like it's color A586. It's just this beautiful soft red. And it's Portuguese wool. It doesn't have any nylon in it. And I had made a hat? Yeah, I'd made a hat out of some of it, and to wear under my helmet. So I brought this Patton's Croy sock yarn to use for the cuff. And because I just thought, why not? I will try a Colorwork pattern on the cuff. And I don't remember what this pattern is, but I think it was a free pattern. And oh, I know these little cat faces are not perfect, and neither are these things, but I was doing this in an airport. And I wasn't, the chart was in front of me, but I messed it up. But I loved it. I love it, making color work on socks, and it fits me. I only had these size 1 needles. And besides having a lot of strings to take care of, I can get it on. I've already tried it on after I reduced down to the 56. I just stayed at 56 stitches the whole way, and it works for me. So tighter than my other socks, but I love tight socks. So that was fine. It's not like egregiously tight. And I really enjoyed it. I will list below the free pattern of the cat heads. And oh yeah, so I am in between things. I might have mentioned in one of my last videos, the update video, that I was going to be starting the Tressa Widener Stages Pullover sweater. It's a Purl Soho pattern designed by Tressa, and I had bought the yarn and started it. I might as well show this to you now before I show you what I've been working on in the meantime. However, I did order the yarn, but they didn't have the beautiful navy blue yarn. I'll put up a picture of the Stages Pullover. So in the meantime, while I was waiting on the yarn, I started the pullover and did the short rows. And this is the start of it. This is a beautiful sport weight yarn. I'm loving working with this weight, finer gauge, and this beautiful orange and this absolutely stunning misty gray, which I didn't think would be for me, but I adore this color so much. So this is the orange. I'm gonna just tell you the color in a second. And this is the gray mist. I couldn't be more happy. I don't have it on a cable anymore because I was doing something else and waiting for the blue yarn. But there is a yellowish yarn that goes with this, as you will have seen in the picture, which is called Curry. Sorry for the crackling. Orange Carmine is that beautiful orange. So just waiting for the blue. That story is that it's out of stock. I went to a local yarn store and tried to find a sport weight navy blue yarn. I did. I thought I did. I tried it, and it just wasn't working exactly the same as the Purl Soho yarn. And because this is my first Colorwork sweater, because this is really nice yarn, this is Wigeon, by the way, I just was nervous to use another yarn because the blue plays such an important part in the whole design. So I went on Ravelry. I was looking for D-stashes. There was only one on eBay actually that was had the entire set of yarn for the sweater. It was like a kit. And I remembered looking on Ravelry that my Instagram and YouTube friend Faith from Fiber Fables, she is a just prolific and beautiful knitter right now in Kansas. She had made this sweater. I saw it on Ravelry. She had just finished it. and I thought, could she have some of that blue left? Should I reach out? I felt a little weird, but I'm also connected with her on Instagram, and I messaged her and said, would you happen to have this many yards left of the blue yarn that I could buy from you? She did have enough left. We checked the yardage on the size I was making, and she weighed how much she had left, and it's coming to me. In exchange, I sent her a package. We decided to do it that way. And this is the most heartwarming thing in the knitting community that I can think of. Knitters helping other knitters. So if you have a situation like this, just reach out. You never know. She could have used it in another project. She could have had it earmarked for something, but it was worth me reaching out. So thank you so much again, Faith, for your willingness to share that with me. I had a lot of fun putting together like a little package for her. That can be really fun, and I want to keep finding opportunities to do that. So yeah, this is on hold, but it's so precious to me, made more precious by that yarn coming to me. In the meantime, I decided to use some stash yarn, some of this Wool Ease recycled that I picked up at Walmart many months ago, like in the summer. It was $3. I have a bunch of these skeins. I just picked up as many as they had, like 5 of them or something, enough for a sweater. I have this, which is the red, and then they had this blue. This was $1. I don't know why it was just $1, but they don't normally have woolies, so I'm not sure why it was there. And I decided to start another flax sweater without the garter ridge going down the sleeve because I wanted to practice a bunch of things. I wanted to practice stripes, but I wanted to just get the raglan part done. I'm making it's the second size, so it's going to have a few inches of ease, but now I'm like, man, I should have maybe made the other size. But I did the short rows, and here is that navy blue. This is some leftover Malabrigo Rios. And then I have this baby blue, which I'll tell you about in a second, but I'm gonna make the baby blue pretty wide down the body, and then I'm gonna repeat the blue and the gold, and that's gonna be the end of it. I'm doing some really rapid decreases. You can't even tell, but I'm doing some very rapid decreases on the sleeve so that it's not as baggy as it is, because I know this yarn's gonna grow, but I'm just experimenting all over the place and having fun. You know, I don't expect any grandiose things from this sweater or design, and I'm just having a lot of fun and experimenting with this tapered arm, hoping that, and then I'll block it, I think, after I have the sleeve done so that I can understand how this yarn is growing. I think I'll come back and do more of the body and finish up the stripe. Then I'll block it, and then I'll be able to tell like how this yarn is behaving for the sleeve and the finish. But you know, this has just been a fun not leftovers, but scrap yarn project while I was in between things. This yarn, by the way, is some yarn that I had picked up at my local yarn shop, Moon and Yarn Craft Room, that's on sale. And it's West Yorkshire Spinners Bo Peep DK. So this is a DK, but it's a very plump DK. This is supposed to be worsted or size 4. It says worsted on the listings on the online, but it's very thin. I would call this a DK. So this is working really well, which I thought it would. This was on super clearance, and I picked it up along with this color, thinking I was going to make a Colorwork hat, but like this was $3 or $4 for this little thing, and I'm just going to use it to finish up the stripe. And it says West Yorkshire Spinners Bo Peep, 52% Falkland wool and 48% nylon. And it seems to me that it's washable, but they don't want you to tumble dry because it's a baby yarn. It says luxury baby. So it's very soft, and I just thought it would just go with this superwash yarn. So that's what's happening. I'm having a lot of fun learning different techniques with very low downside on this clearance yarn. Then, I haven't showed this yet, but my daughter is getting married in October, a small wedding and small reception. And I wanted to make her a blanket, and there were a couple from Purl Soho using linen quill that I had talked about actually, but this ended up being one that I found and that works better for me than the one I thought I was going to make out of the linen quill. And this is the, it looks curled right there, but if you can just picture a blanket starting from a corner and this side also being straight, and the fact that it is going to marl with combinations of the 40 set minis from Purl Soho linen quill. So I bought the set of 20 when I thought I was going to make another blanket, which the pirouette shawl, which I was then going to make into a blanket, but that didn't work out for me. I like this better because you're holding it double. This is a Stephen West design. I think it's the Rain or Shine. I'm not sure. I'll put it up here. And you're just, it's an 8-row repeat with some, am I showing you the wrong side? Yeah. With some slipped stitches. And I am following the rose, the rainbow, because as Lena said from another knitting podcast, I just can't get any better than how they've ordered things. And she's made one of these. So I love the rhythm. It goes really fast. Obviously, I'm growing it bigger and bigger. But yeah, I just hold two colors together. Right now, it's these two colors. And then you drop the one that you started with, and then the next two will be these two. I'm just following the chart. It's been really fun. So I have a set of 40 in the closet that I am taking out as I go. But I had ordered this set of 20 because I thought I was going to make the other one. And these are different colors. So I got this storage unit, this little storage thing on clearance, and I should have gotten two, so I'm going to go back and get another one because I wanted to be able to see the colors that I have for inspiration. Linen quill is an interesting yarn. It is, what does it say here? 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, 15% linen. The jury is out as far as whether it would be too scratchy for me to have something up here made out of it. I'm not sure. So I had a sample swatch knit, but it was a little too small. So I think I might just need to play around with it and knit something, but I love working with this yarn, especially double. I don't know that I'd want to work with it single, except maybe for color work, but yeah, it's been really fun. I don't think my daughter watches this channel, so I feel okay mentioning that. Okay, my 2025 plans, directions that I want to go in. This isn't a make 9, but I did break some things down and they happen to add up to 9. I'm going to have my Ravelry open here so I can talk to you about some of the things. I have a ton of patterns saved in my favorites. I tend not to buy patterns unless something is on super sale, and I know I want to knit it. I just tend to have a lot of patterns saved in my favorites, and then they end up in my library when I'm going to make something. So my favorites, I have a queue, and in my queue are just favorites. I don't know why I even, like, I don't use the queue to queue things up. To me, it's another place to add stuff that I want to remember. But number one, I definitely want to try some cabling, and I think I'm going to do that with a hat. And one of the things that's in my library, because it was a free pattern, that's the other thing that tends to be in my library or free patterns, is the Joji Locatelli Twisted Affair. It was a free hat pattern that she offered around the election, I think. It was about that. And it's beautiful. I'll put a picture up here. I think it's bulky weight, so I'm not sure. I don't have yarns picked out for anything that I'm talking about, really. If you have any other recommendations, I will certainly take them. But this free pattern, and by a designer like Joji Locatelli, just seemed perfect to me. So that's where I think I'm going to practice that skill. The second thing is, I really do think that I'm going to be trying out finer gauge knits. The Stages Pullover is a perfect example and a perfect way to introduce me to finer gauge, because it's sport weight, and I've never used sport weight. And with a beautiful yarn like Wigeon, which is, by the way, let's see, 100% fine Falkland Merino, I couldn't have started off in a better place. It's a beautiful yarn to work with. And most of the stuff that I own is really fine gauge sweaters, really fine gauge. I don't think I have anything except like one cotton sweater that's a larger gauge. So when I look at the stuff that I have bought and what I'm drawn to, it's more not a lot of positive ease. I'll just use this as an example. Doesn't mean that I couldn't be wearing something with a lot of, with a more positive ease, but this is what I'm finding. Not everything I think that I need to make will be a finer gauge, but starting with like sport weight DK, definitely, even DK would be a change, and fingering weight if I could handle it. So we'll see. Drop shoulder construction is number 3. Finer gauge was number 2. Drop shoulder. I've not made anything other than raglan and circular yoke. So drop shoulder or some kind of shoulder construction, that's not one of those. I think I will eventually get to. I think that may be like a petite knit pattern or an Ozetta. I'm not sure what form it's going to take, but I know there's a lot out there that I have in my favorites. Sewn down collar is just a skill that I would like to learn, and that could be in any of the designs that I tend to save. I don't think it would be hard for me to find a sewn down collar. I just want that experience. Yarns. What yarns am I going to explore this year? I'm just going to encapsulate it. I'm just going to summarize really quickly because that could be a whole video, but there's a couple different categories of yarn that I'm thinking about. I would like to keep exploring knit picks because there's a lot of value there and they have a good reputation. So things like High Desert, Wool of the Andes, Palette, I'd like to see if I can tolerate those yarns, and it wouldn't cost a lot of money to experiment with buying some skeins of them. And then Drops yarn too. Drops Merino for sure. I think Drops Daisy is one that I'm thinking of, but they are inexpensive. I can buy them from Linda Hobby, but let me know where you buy Drops yarn if you're in the United States, because another good value that has a great reputation that I'd like to try. Sandus yarn, definitely Double Sunday, a DK weight is a yarn that I would like to try. And maybe I'll get to trying Knitting for Olive. My local yarn store carries Knitting for Olive, so I can see it and touch it. And it might be something like the Heavy Merino, or holding the Merino double that I try, or certainly the Cotton Merino. I have tried the Drops cotton merino, and I really like it too. So that's a focus. And then there are 2 farms that I would love to purchase yarn from at some point in 2025. One of them is Flying Fibers, that is in Wrightsville, Pennsylvania, which is actually, I'll say York, Pennsylvania, York County. And they got on my radar because I worked in York County for a long time. So I adore businesses in York County and supporting them. And so I follow the 2 women that run the farm on Instagram, and I saw them at Rhinebeck. And also Tammy at A Wing and a Prayer farm in Vermont. She's got a fantastic Instagram account. She is everywhere doing everything. They are doing amazing things at that farm, just as they are at Flying Fiber, in breed-specific wool and sheep. They go into a lot of detail on their website. I really encourage you to look at it, the wonderful work that they're doing there. And so I would love to try their yarn. I also saw them at Rhinebeck, at New York Sheep and Wool, I should say. Okay, that was number 5. Number 6, different bindoffs and cast-ons. A sewn bindoff is something I tried once, and I'd like to practice that. Different cast-ons too. German twisted cast-on, cable cast-on. Definitely some bindoffs too. I want to become more familiar and practice those. Texture. There's some textured patterns that I thought I was going to do, but didn't. The Blue Water sweater by Tressa Widener is one that I made the cow, but I thought I was going to make the sweater and I didn't. There is the Sill Slipover, the Stick Season, the Sill Slipover is petite knit. The Stick Season is Rebecca Clow from the Creabea, and she just released the Staffen whole line of garments that looks really pretty. So there's a lot of textured things that I'm interested in. I think I bought the Sill Slipover because I thought I was going to make it. So I think I already own that pattern. I'll probably go towards that. I think it's DK. And number 8 has to be Colorwork. I mean, I am so into Colorwork. I've got a lot of Jamieson's of Shetland from my retreat that I want to use. And plus the linen quill is also a wonderful Colorwork yarn to use. I could go on forever about patterns that I'm looking at, but Gudrun Johnston is one, is at the top of that list. I mean, just pick any hat, pick any sweater. The Porty sweater is amazing. Lots of her hats I'm in love with. But apart from that, the flagship vest I saw on somebody, and I fell in love with this design and this color scheme. I'll put it up here. I'm so attracted to that. And this designer called Bunny Muff, who is Mona Zilla. I don't know how I discovered her, probably from another YouTuber. So much fun to look at her designs. I go down a complete rabbit hole. Speaking of Bunny, I go down a complete rabbit hole on her Ravelry page. And one of them that just like blew me away was joining bees and things. Now that's a cardigan. If I was making that, I would make it into a sweater. She encourages you to reach out to her community and ask how to adapt things. So maybe somebody's made that into just a sweater and not a cardigan. There's something about that design and color scheme that blows my mind. And ReneePgh actually put together kits for it. So they put together kits in palette that are still available. I went down that rabbit hole. And I think all of these that I'm talking about are finer gauge. And so that goes right along with my intention. And one more that I will throw at you is Colorwork and texture, and that's the Sprig Slipover. I don't have written down here who it's by, but I will put that on the screen. Stunning. Just stunning. And then the last category, 9, fun things. Whimsy. I don't have any specific plans because I am going to let just whim drive me this year, but more fun things. I worked in the corporate world for 40 years. You know, I started off in a corporate setting when I was 18, and then I became a claims adjuster, and I went to college while I was working, and, you know, dressed button down, more tailored button downs and this kind of thing, which I really liked. I really liked having a small capsule type wardrobe, mostly plain things. Now I want to have fun. And so I'm looking at things like M to the third. Mackenzie really inspires me. She has a YouTube channel. She also has a Sibling Energy YouTube channel with Tim. But everything in her Ravelry that she's ever made, I love so much, whether it's because of the color or the design or both. And they're making the duotone sweater for their camp sweater. They go to a camp every year that's put on by Starlight Knitting Society in Portland. And the duotone definitely has my attention. I'll put a picture of it here and my favorite version of it on Ravelry. Mackenzie has a shirt that I don't recall what the t-shirt design is, but she added an intarsia circle. And there is something about that that is so attractive to me. It's so fun that's, you know, in terms of color work, intarsia would be something that I'd have to learn how to do. But the moon, speaking of intarsia, the Moon Crush tank by Jack Cieslak has been attractive to me since day one that I got on Ravelry. So Whimsy, like there's so many whimsical designs. Bunny Muff does a lot of them, but there are a lot of other ones that I'm interested in that have less intricate color work, but are just fun. So that's it. I've been going for a while. Hopefully I can edit this down to maybe 30 minutes for you. And I cannot wait to hear in the comments any of your feedback about any of these things that I've talked about, whether they're techniques or patterns or yarns. If you have pretty sensitive skin on your neck and your chest, let me know if you've tried out Knit Picks, Wool of the Andes, or Palette. High Desert is another one, but especially Wool of the Andes and Palette seem to be really cool yarns that I'd like to explore. And any drops yarn that you feel that you've been comfortable with if you've got pretty sensitive skin. I'm also on the lookout for other fluffy lace weight yarns like the Amano Uma alpaca that I've discovered that doesn't seem to bother me. Now, I haven't made a garment with it, so I can't say, but I did make a scarf with it for my daughter, which didn't bother me. But I'd love to know, if you have sensitive skin, have you discovered a mohair or an alpaca that just doesn't bother you, even though you are bothered by many other things because you have super sensitive skin? Or if you've discovered an alternative, I'd also like to hear about that too. But please share with me in the comments, as always. I think on the next video, I will do a proper introduction for those that have joined me recently. I'll do a proper introduction about me and my background and why I'm here and things like that. But I started knitting at about March of 2024, the long and short of it. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy New Year again to all of you. I cannot wait to keep sharing with you and building this community in our conversations. I am Adventurer Knits on Instagram, and I'm ReneePgh on Ravelry. So please come and join me on Ravelry also. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye.